Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I'm 𝗍𝗲𝘀𝗋𝗋 and my mission is to inspire you to grow, stand out, and take action towards the next level of your life. I interview leaders, authors, successful entrepreneurs, spiritual teachers, exceptional people who will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week and make sure you subscribe to get them as soon as they are released. Welcome to the milestone episode 150, and I'm grateful to be celebrating it with you. Today I will share with you some of my thoughts on mastery, being one of the words of the podcast title. Mastery as a definition, it means comprehensive knowledge or skill in something particular, and it is also the action of mastering that subject or skill, and that's according to the dictionary. My observation here, and the obvious difference that comes to mind, is that it's one thing to master a skill or subject, like playing the guitar or a foreign language, and it's another thing to focus on the mastery of your personal development. Because with a skill or a subject like the guitar or the language, when you get really good, when you keep on learning and practicing and failing and more learning, there comes a point when you become unconsciously competent, when you perform that skill and it becomes an automatic habit, and it usually appears to people that watch, it appears to be effortless. And that is the state in which we can say that someone has achieved mastery or is a master of a subject or a topic. But with personal development mastery, it's not as simple. You can't just become unconsciously competent in personal development. There is so much more than that. So in this episode today, I will discuss mastery and my sense of mastery in personal development, and in particular how it expresses itself through the podcast. And let me start with a quick comment about why I chose the title Personal Development Mastery. Obviously, using the words personal development was a clear choice for me because it was what I wanted to focus on and what I had been passionate about doing the last 6 years of my life. And besides that, my first podcast was called Personal Development Essentials, so it made complete sense to stick with the term personal development. But mastery, in the beginning, when I was deciding on the name of the podcast, I thought that mastery sounds like a cool thing, a great name. And something that I realized earlier on was that by naming the podcast Personal Development Mastery, I had raised the bar for myself. And at that time, I didn't even know it. You see, mastery implies being comprehensive, being proficient, and showing expertise. And I remember some of the conversations I had with my early podcast guests. And we were discussing how this is a podcast on mastery of personal development, and I used to wonder whether by choosing this title I had set myself up for disappointment. And that's because achieving personal development mastery seemed so daunting. And this is actually a point of view that I have completely changed my mind about during these 150 episodes. And I mean believing that mastery is something to be achieved. I realize now that personal development mastery is not something to achieve, it is a journey. Like our life is a journey, mastery itself is a journey. Mastery is not about perfection, it's not about reaching a point in terms of our abilities or knowledge. Mastery is, for me, it is the art of perfecting towards the vision we set. Mastery is not a destination, it's not an end result. So, Mastery, of course, is as a concept is multifaceted, and I'm going to discuss here for you some elements in particular of mastering one's personal development. And the first one that comes to mind is having clarity on the vision, and in this case, the vision about mastery, and also the understanding that not many people seek out to do something so demanding, so arduous in a way. It is a road that the majority of people prefer to avoid. And after all, it is difficult. Another element, and probably the most important that comes to mind regarding mastery, is self-accountability and discipline. Self-mastery requires some degree of being able to overcome your unconscious habits, maybe some of your unconscious biases or some of the impulses that are more based on your instant gratification rather than who you are aspiring to become. So it is one of the core functions, if you will, of self-mastery. It is, can I do the difficult thing, the right thing, but difficult thing, even though it's uncomfortable in the moment? And one more facet of mastery that I think is also important to mention is emotional mastery, which actually ties in very well with the self-discipline, which I was just talking about. For me, emotional mastery is being able to sit with your emotions, being able to take action in spite of your emotions, and that's fundamental. And I feel that it's relevant here to make a quick mention of Maslow's classic hierarchy of needs. So there are the basic human needs at the bottom, like food and safety and so on. And then we have the psychological needs. And then there is the very top of the pyramid. And of these psychological human needs, the top ones are, broadly speaking, feeling good about oneself and feeling valued by others. It's what Maslow calls esteem. And the next level up, the top of the pyramid, is self-actualization. And that refers to feeling fulfilled or feeling that we are living up to our potential, to become everything that one is capable of becoming. And this is unique. It looks different for everyone. And essentially it is that feeling that we are doing what we believe we are meant to be doing. And in my opinion, personal development mastery encompasses both esteem and self-actualization. And I would dare to say it goes even further to self-transcendence if one chooses to continue the journey of mastery and, of course, is blessed to experience this. And there is another thing that comes to mind when I think about mastering personal development. And because of my Greek origin, I think of the great philosophers that spoke about self-mastery. Plato said the first and best victory is to conquer self. Aristotle said the hardest victory is over self. And Socrates observed that the truly free individual is free only to the extent of his or her own self-mastery. And if you think about it, this is the limit of our freedom. What our self will allow us to do. So, why did I choose personal development mastery not as my podcast title only, but as a path to walk on? And in a way, or in a word if you want, I feel it is my duty. And my duty as a human being and as a divine being. And this podcast, in a way, it documents the journey. And in many ways, it even is the journey. And I will conclude this episode with something I read recently in an outstanding book by Mark Gober, who I had the pleasure to speak with on my podcast in episode 132. He was talking about lines of development and the three primary ways in which we develop. 1, waking up, 2, cleaning up, and 3, growing up. And I'm going to make an assumption here, if you've listened so far into this podcast, that you have already gone past the first stage of waking up. You are awake. And I believe that personal development mastery is the ongoing process of the other two lines, cleaning up and growing up. So keep on working on yourself for the sake of all of us. People like you, people growing up and cleaning up, people interested in self-mastery, people living authentically, they create ripple effects of multiplied impact. Thank you very much for listening to this milestone episode 150 of my podcast, and it was a privilege to have shared my thoughts on mastery with you. If you have enjoyed it, then please share this episode with someone you know who may benefit from it. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.